Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio, podcast, and television show. I'm your host, Life Coach Marina Young, and sitting in the guest chair today is Kerry Fisher. Kerry is a peak performance coach, and today we are going to be talking on the topic, how to create a life of ease, flow, and peak performance. You know, we always want to have peak performance. Before I hit the record button, I was telling Kerry how I just crashed. My energy was, I don't know what happened, but I just crashed. But, and I probably wouldn't have crashed if I had done my morning routine, which we're going to talk about as well with Kerry today, because, it's Christmas. Well, yeah, we're recording this episode a couple of days before Christmas. And I did house cleaning today. So I don't know, is all those chemicals I inhaled or what? I didn't go outside and get some fresh air and I crashed. So it's very important to have peak performance. It's very important to notice your energy level, and it's very important to be up. So Kerry, I'm going to enjoy our conversation today. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited too. And I totally agree with you. It's important to maintain that peak performance. And I think that you really did kind of keep with your peak performance, because the main thing is to notice when you're dropping, which you did, and then you did something about it. And I think that that's the key, right? That awareness.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, when I'm coming on to a radio interview, I definitely need peak performance. We certainly don't want to be boring, you know what I mean? So yes, I work very hard to get back up. So awesome. So I hope I can be, in my peak state today so that I can give you guys a great episode. All right, so let me give you a short bio on Kerry. Kerry says that she was raising a family and working as an attorney when she began a daily yoga practice. She immediately noticed that yoga was the perfect antidote to her hectic lifestyle. Initially interested in yoga as a physical practice that made her feel good in her body, Kerry soon realized that yoga was a lot more than that. She decided to take a teacher training and immediately began teaching yoga. Kerry eventually left her law career and began to focus on teaching and coaching full-time. Kerry's mission now is to help others find a most balanced and fulfilled life. She believes in action and has created a system that is easy to implement so people can create change quickly. She coaches her corporate clients and elite athletes in mindset and peak performance techniques and creates tailored programs for private clients who are seeking mastery in all areas of their lives. When not teaching or writing, you can usually find Kerry somewhere outdoors with her 5 children in tow. Good for you, girl. 5 of them, huh?
Oh, yes. They keep me on my toes. I'm not always in flow when I'm with them. That I will admit.
Well, that's awesome. Well, you just told me you lived in New York. So, I mean, wow, where did you find outdoors in New York? I'm like thinking, mountainous or something like that. So it's great that you can find outdoors in New York. So,
well, I live outside of the city. I live about an hour outside. So I live near the beaches, and actually upstate New York has a lot of mountains. So there's a lot of outdoors.
Oh,
I
nice.
love being outdoors. And I think that being outdoors, which you actually mentioned it too, being outdoors is a way to reconnect and drop back into that flow, I feel like.
Yeah, I know. And, I'm not sure what happened with me being crashed, but we talked briefly before we started the recording about, where I live in Fort Myers, and we got hit by, Hurricane Ian. And my park that I normally go to every day, communing with nature, get the outdoors, has been closed since then. So, and what I did is I joined a gym. So I'm obviously not getting the fresh air and the outdoors, but yes, that was part of my morning routine, which we're going to get to. But anyway, when I was reading your bio, it kind of struck me as almost a very similar story to the first self-improvement book that I read, and I loved it. And this book actually changed the trajectory in my life. And that is the book that is called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari by Robin Sharma. And in the book, Robin Sharma, the monk, was a lawyer who had a heart attack. And then he decided to go to the Himalayan mountains and study meditation. And then he came back and started teaching it. So your story is similar. You were a lawyer, you started doing yoga, then you wanted to teach it, and now that is your space. So can you share your story to our listening audience and yourself, is how you made the shift from law to coaching people on mindset and stress reduction techniques?
Absolutely. And by the way, that's one of my favorite books, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. I read that book so many years ago, and that was one of the books that changed my life even before I went into this wellness space. That's such a great book. And it really shows you that at any point in your life, you really can change and move into a different space if you want. So for me, I felt like my life was going great, right? So I had a good career and I had my children, I have a nice house, everything is great, but I didn't feel great, to be honest with you. And I had this experience where we were on a vacation, hiking in the woods, and we came to this clearing in the woods, and you know the kind, right? It's like trees in a circle, all the pine needles on the ground, and the sun was just coming in to the center of the circle. So I walked into the center of the circle and the sun hit me, and I had this crazy moment. I cannot describe it, where I flashed back to the Kerry who I was when I was 20. And back then I used to spend a lot of time in nature also. And the flashback I had was of me sitting with my journal, writing all my hopes and dreams. So what did I want when I was little, when I was 20, a 20-year-old young woman? I wanted to have a career. I wanted to have a beautiful family. I wanted to have a husband that loved me and supported what I wanted to do, and I could support him. I wanted a beautiful house. I wanted to travel and adventure. So as I was flashing on this, I turn and look and realize, wow, all of my dreams had come true. Aww. So usually, yeah. Oh, everyone
I was thinking that it didn't. So that's beautiful. Yeah.
No, Myrna, everyone has that reaction when they hear the story, because it's like, wow, that's so amazing. But what happened in the next instant was I realized that even though I had everything I wanted, I really wasn't happy and I didn't feel fulfilled. And why was that? Because I think I was on autopilot, right? And I started to think, like, where did those dreams come from? And I started to understand that a lot of those dreams came from outside of me. My society, my parents, my teachers. I'm a pleaser. I want to please people. I want to be impressive. You know, when you're a lawyer, you get a lot of people respect you automatically. So I went back to my hotel room and I wrote another whole list of all my hopes and dreams. And they were things like, you know, start teaching. I had always studied personal growth. So the book you mentioned, I had read that probably when I was 20 or 25, right around that same time. And I had been studying personal transformation, philosophy for many, many years. So I was like, you know, I'd really like to teach people some of the things I learned. And I'd like to be an author and I'd like to be a speaker. And I was writing all these things down, right? So that's all well and good. I get home from the vacation, lose the piece of paper, or maybe it was my journal that I wrote it in, and I forgot all about it. So a few months later, I found the list and I was like, wow, none of these things are coming true. And that was when I had to have the moment where I was like, you know, am I just going to sit and allow my life just to keep going? Because you know what happens? We get busy with our lives, you know, family, career, there's so much pulling at us. And it's hard to think of dreams and hopes, especially when you're middle-aged, you know? So I really just decided I had to do something. Now, I didn't know what it was going to be. One day my alarm rang. I hit the snooze button, but instead of going back to sleep, which I usually did, and Myrna, I would usually do that like a few times. You know, I would hit the snooze button, go back to sleep. So I would usually start my day at a, you know, in the negative. I would start my day late, racing around, being lunatic, trying to get everything done on time, right? Get the kids out the door, get myself out the door. But on this day, instead of going back to sleep, I just sat up in my bed and I meditated. And it was nothing fancy, Myrna. It was just me, just thinking about what I'm thinking about. I was just observing my thoughts. Okay. So yes, that's a kind of meditation, everybody. You could just sit up and notice what you're thinking about. And I didn't think anything beyond that. The alarm went off again. I hit it, got up, and I went about my day. That night, I was in my bed with my husband, and I said, I had such a great day. And he's like, what, why do you think? And I said, I have no idea. And he said, was there anything different that you did today? And I said, yeah. And I told him what I had done. I had gotten up and meditated, guys, for 5 minutes. That was it. And he said, oh, that's so cool. I'm going to try it tomorrow. So he tried it the next day. And sure enough, at the end of the day, he was like, that was amazing. I had such a great day. So we both started doing this. And eventually I started teaching it to my students. I started teaching it to my law friends, because I was still practicing law at that time. And because at that time I was teaching law and I was a yoga teacher, but I was a yoga teacher part-time. And I wanted to move over full-time to yoga, but there was no way I could, because I wasn't really making a lot in yoga. It was more of like a side little passion of mine. Mm-hmm. So I started teaching this to everyone I knew, my friends, my family, and everybody was telling me they were having a lot of changes in their life. And I really started thinking it was because, actually Robin Sharma says it, when you win your morning, you win your day, and you set yourself up for a nice, smooth day. And I just think that when you start with any little thing, any little change, and you start to notice a result, it really spurs you on to make the next change. And that's how I moved into this world.
That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. As you were talking, I'm trying to think, was that in, the Monk Souls Ferrari? But no, but he has a 5 a.m. club book or something. And he spends a lot of time talking about your morning routine. I've not read that book yet, but I'm on his email list, and he sends me, little blasts from the book and all that. So that's actually amazing. So what your transition was a 5-minute meditation in the morning, and you noticed, just like how I noticed that I was crashing, you noticed that your day went smoother and you weren't as hectic. So that's amazing. Yeah. I have a very, it's kind of messed up a little bit now, but I had a really, really deep morning routine. But so we're going to get to that in a minute, and I'll share mine as you talk about how you help your clients start the day with, because I think one of the questions I have here is how peak performance starts with creating a morning routine. So one of the things I noticed is you give a really great story of how you transitioned. And yes, coaching is the same with me. When I started my life coaching business, I had to be a realtor in order to supplement it, because, when you're starting yoga teaching or whatever, you can't actually, make as much money as you were as an attorney. So we do this thing where it's a side hustle until you're able to go there in full time. So and then you transitioned to teaching high achievers, because as an attorney, you were in that space, and the things that you teach. So how tell us how you help high achievers and peak performers reduce their stress and improve their performance. Does it have something to do with the morning routine as well?
Well, the first thing I noticed when I started teaching yoga was that yoga, I always thought it was just those poses that you do, but really yoga is a lifestyle, and it really encompasses everything, right? The way you live in this world, the way you're thinking, the way you're eating, the way you function in general, the way you treat other people, the way you treat yourself. And I was like, these are such timeless principles. We should all be living by this. And this was many years ago. This was over 10 years ago. So I felt like the world had gotten almost out of control, getting faster and faster. And we no longer, even when we weren't working, we weren't even off, because we had our cell phones and we needed to be available all the time. So I was like, what will happen? How much faster can it get, right? So I said, I would love to teach these things to lawyers and business people and doctors, people who wouldn't normally do it, because honestly, professional people, they kind of are like, I don't know about meditation. They get a little nervous when you start using any of the lingo. So yeah. Mm-hmm. I started to study the mind. And what I realized was, if you take those practices, those Eastern practices like yoga, meditation, and breath work, and then you marry it to the science, which is all about how the brain works. That was my way in with professionals. And I also realized if I didn't call it meditation, but I just said this is a stress relief exercise, then it was much easier for people to really start to understand it. And then I realized, you know what, that's probably true for everybody, because people think of it as spirituality, woo-woo, whatever they want to call it, but they're just these timeless principles that everybody knows. You know, it's interesting, on my block, my neighbor just brought her dad to live with her, right? So they're an Asian family. And I know the dad is 90. And I noticed that twice a day, every single day, even when it's freezing cold, Myrna, he takes a walk. And I was like, yeah, because in other cultures, they understand these things that we need to exercise. In America, I think we've really focused on our career is the most important thing, or money, career, money, family, right? Yeah. And then nothing else is really thought about, not our social life, our emotional life, our spiritual life. So our, you know, our health, our bodies, so many successful people don't take care of our bodies. So seeing him walk every day, you know, because I love to walk too, but like not in the rain, not when it's snowing, not when it's a little chilly, not when it's windy, but not him every day. And I was like, that's a lesson for all of us. So I really try to take all of these timeless principles. Nothing any of us are saying, you know, none of this is made up, you know, up by us. This is all stuff that comes down to us from all of this wisdom from the generations. And I just think that in America, we've sort of lost touch with some of that. And I'm trying to bring it back with just very simple tools. Take the difficult principles and make them simple enough that you could actually take action.
Yeah, that's amazing. All right, so I've got several circle backs. The first one was, yes, about yoga. For some reason, starting with Robin Sharma, even though he was an Indian, but he introduced me to the monks in the Himalayas and all that. And then I became a follower of Deepak Chopra, and now I'm like a follower of Sadhguru. I'm like, soak up all his stuff. And one of the things that he constantly says that yoga, people think it's all about poses and whatever. And he says the science of yoga has rarely anything to do with the poses. It has to do with exactly what you're saying, the principles of mind-body connection and spirituality and breath and all the things that you talked about, which is basically what Robin Sharma introduced when he, talked to the monk who sold his Ferrari about him being with the monks in the Himalayas. So yes, and I agree with you that if you were to go and say that you're teaching meditation, even though meditation is caught on in the West, I mean, everybody's talking about it right now. But before, people would think, oh, it's woo-woo. It's, I can't do it because my mind is very busy. But yeah, I mean, if you can, just, my meditation is breath focused, I can go into manifestation and, Sadhguru teaches, when you talked about the clearing, I do a meditation where Sadhguru talks about you come into the woods and there's a clearing and there's a house, and in the house you see your spiritual master and you ask the spiritual master for 3 things that you want, so there's the meditation for the stress reduction, there's the meditation for manifestation, but yes, once you're doing it, it reduces your stress because you're lowering your breath rate and you are, finding peace and tranquility and inner peace. So yes, it's a great way to teach it. And then you talked about the fact that you're marrying it with science because the science of the brain and the science of the mind. Oh my goodness, I spend so much time on what the mind and what the brain and thoughts can do. So it's great that you are able to marry, the woo-woo, as you want to call it, to the science and talk to people who know, because once you've achieved success in your career, you understand that there's work to be done. because on the flip side, a lot of people want to get to peak performance, but they don't have the, what would we call it? They don't have the willpower, or they don't have the, I'm not strategy, but they don't have the, you know, what you need to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and maybe go jumping in cold water, or go run, or doing all these different things. So that's amazing. And the third circle back is about the Chinese gentleman that walks every day. You know, my mom is 84, and every time I talk to her, because she lives in Toronto, she talks about her aches and pains and whatever. But one of the things I say to her, I said, Mom, you got to keep walking, regardless of how it hurts. You need to keep walking, because walking keeps away all that stuff. You know what I mean? So yeah, and sometimes she goes to walk twice a day as well. She doesn't do it every day, but sometimes, you know, when she's bored, she goes and walks. And I love walking. You know, since the hurricane, I told you I went to the gym, but one of the reasons that I walked every day a 5K in the park, communing with the trees, sitting on rocks, talking to God through nature, because I know what it did for my inner peace and my well-being and my stress reduction. I've wanted to lose weight for a long time, and I know I wasn't doing anything for that. But I kept doing it because what I got was important. So now I flipped it and I want to lose weight. So I'm at the gym, you know, anyway. Yeah, so that was very, very good. So so how did you match the morning routine? Is that because you felt so good when you did your 5-minute meditation in the morning? Is that how you married it?
So what happened was I started doing that, you know, the 5 minutes, but then I was like, oh, maybe I can do other things in the morning. I could do more than 5 minutes. So I started actually setting my alarm earlier and earlier. And I eventually ended up with a 1-hour routine, which for me is ideal, you know, but not for everybody. But I think that it's, what I realized was, oh, if 5 minutes of meditating made me feel like that, what if I got up and did a little bit of exercise, not a lot, a little bit. If I did a little exercise, if I journaled a little bit, if I listened to a song I liked in the morning, or, you know, read a few quotes or a few pages of a book, or like, you know, even like any book that I had already read that I just wanted to review a chapter. And I created this whole 1-hour routine. And for me, I started to understand how important it was not only to create this morning routine, but to tailor it to my lifestyle. So for my husband, he started to do this, and he has about a half an hour morning routine. I have an hour, but I always have as my base, as my minimum, I always have a 5-minute morning routine. So let's just say one day I just don't have it in me. I don't get up when I'm supposed to. I have it as a non-negotiable that I have to do at least 5 minutes in the morning, because I'm starting my day doing something for me. But also what I realized as I started teaching this to people is there are so many teachers and gurus out there that are telling you, this is how you have to do it. I have the answer. My way is the way. Sit at my feet. And you know what? I was never one of those people. I love to go around just like you. I love to learn from all of these people. I take what I need and I drop the rest. I don't need to follow everything, because the best routine, the thing that will help you change your life, is not what I tell you. It's what you do for yourself. So basically this whole snooze button routine that I came up with is for you to use as you need to. So in my book, the snooze button sessions, I show you 12 different things you could do in the morning: meditation, breath work, exercise, yoga, or stretching, journaling. There's so many different things, but then you choose which one of those things or what combination of those things you use. Some of the people I've taught this to have a very strict routine. They're more of the structured kind of people. So they know exactly what they're doing. Other people like me, I'm much more unstructured. I have that time period and I do what I want to do during that period. So sometimes I'll break it up. Robin Sharma actually suggests not to do it the way I do it, which is in the, you know, hitting the snooze every time and then moving to a new routine. But he breaks it up into 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes of exercise, 20 minutes of spiritual growth, and 20 minutes of learning. So whatever works for you, and that's what I advocate. I advocate for you learning the tools, figuring out what works for you, and even adding something you might like that I never even thought about. And Myrna, the reason this system works is because it's a thing called habit stacking. So why don't we ever do the things that we want to do, or we do it for a few days and we stop? Here we are. You know, we all think about New Year's resolutions, right? So what happens? People make their New Year's resolutions. They do them for a few days, a few weeks, maybe even a couple of months, but everyone always stops. Why? It's not linked to anything. So I love doing habit stacking, and starting with this morning routine is a great way, because we all wake up and the alarm goes off for the most part, right? Or even if you wake up naturally, that's a really easy time to add 5 minutes in. At night, that's another time, or right around your meal time. So I believe that not only learning tools that will relax you and keep you in ease and flow, but finding the times. Oh, okay, every day after lunch, I'm going to walk for 10 minutes. And, you know, the beautiful thing is people started coming back to me, telling me things like, you know, I started taking a walk after work every day. I mean, after lunch at my job every day. And eventually other people started joining them. So what happened? It improved their health. It improved their feeling. They got outside, they were in nature, and then it also improved their social life. So tiny little changes can have massive effects. And that's really what I advocate, because who has time to exercise for an hour, do yoga for an hour, meditate, you know, journal? Like at one point, I'm not even kidding, when I moved fully into the wellness world, I was doing like 3 or 4 hours of wellness practices a day. And honestly, I was still like moody at times, you know, like sometimes even more so. It became like a chore. So I was like, this is not the answer, at least not for someone like me. And that's why I think these tiny little changes are really important.
Yeah, so that's absolutely amazing. So yeah, I have a pretty extensive morning routine because I am, you know, my brother says he loves my lifestyle because I'm like semi-retired. So I work for myself and I start my day at around 11, 12 o'clock. So I'm up at 7 in the morning. So between then is my morning routine. So you're right. I mean, if we're talking to, you know, mothers who has to get up, and like you have 5 kids, you have to get up and get your kids ready. You have a husband, you have to go to work. You know, I read Michelle Obama's book, and she was talking about getting up at 4:30 in the morning and going to the gym because she had to get back before Barack Obama goes to work. And that's how a lot of people do it. I have another friend is the same thing. She's a stay-at-home mom, and she's got to go early to the gym because you know, she has to get back before her husband goes to work. So a lot of people have those things that they have to work with. And what I was trying to say earlier, and I still don't have the word for it, is that it takes a lot of, I got the word now, dedication. I have never been able to get up at 4:30 in the morning when it's cold. You know, I didn't say, but you know, I spent 25 years of my life in Toronto, which is when you get up in the morning, you don't want to get up out of bed because your bed is your warmest place. Everything else around you is freezing. And when you hit that snooze button, you're you know, you're covering up with your electric blanket or something. So yeah, I've never had the willpower. And one of the things that's really interesting that when I read, obviously we keep going back to Mount Soulless Ferrari, one of the things that I worked on very diligently, because he had a chapter on willpower, and I worked so hard on my willpower because that's basically what it is. The willpower to get up out of bed early and do something that you need to do for your health, for your wellness, for if you want to lose weight, for learning, whatever you want to do, then you have to have the willpower to do it. So yes, you know, my morning routine is, you know, 3-4 hours, well, not 3 hours, but because there's so many things that I want. You know, I have my meditation, then I have prayer, then I read my Bible, then I go walk. And while I'm walking, I'm listening to podcasts or self-improvement books, right? And that's all part of my routine. And then when I'm in the park, you know, I'm communing with nature, communing with the trees. I sit on rocks and all these things. And every single thing is meant to get me in a space where my energy is positive. My energy allows me to manifest my dreams, which is basically what you started talking about. Because in order, you can have all these dreams, or you can have all these goals, and not only you can feel empty if you're not achieving them, but in order for you to manifest them, your energy level has to be a certain way. And again, because I'm in the self-improvement wellness space, you know, I listen to, you know, Dwayne Dyer, and I listen to Abraham Hicks, and I know that our energy is very important. So when I do my morning routine, that is my purpose. My purpose is to get myself into a place where I'm attracting the things, I'm attracting the people to me that I want. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, so a circle back question. So when you tell your clients about the morning routine, and you're saying that it helps them achieve peak performance, and you talk about ease and flow, what else is the science behind it?
Well, basically, the way your brain works is that your brain is designed to keep you alive. So you use we are using all of our senses, our sight, our hearing, our smell, our touch, our taste. All of our senses are really designed just to take in information from the outside world. It goes to your brain processes it. The only thing your brain is really looking for is what is a danger, right? Yeah. So you're really disposed to see danger around you. And we can't possibly see all the things that are going on around us. Our brain actually filters out a ton of information that is actually right before our eyes. We don't even see it. So our brain is just looking for those negative things. So when we're talking about any of these practices, Myrna, when we're talking about creating a morning routine, when we're talking about, you know, meditating or doing anything that's outside of what we would normally do, we're actually rewiring our brain, and we're teaching our brain that, you know, what happens is, so I look around, I could be in my car, someone is driving really slow in front of me, I'm late for work. So my brain immediately is like, danger, danger. And it registers it the same as it would have when we lived in cave times and there was actually like a lion in front of you. So your brain will react to a minor inconvenience like that the same as it would react to a terrible danger. Our brain either is like danger or no danger. It's not like really degrees of it. So that's why you start to get agitated. Your brain is preparing you to fight or flee, even though it's really, you know, your life is not in danger. So we really want to learn, first of all, that awareness piece. So what we were talking about at the beginning of the call, first you need to notice it. So I could be sitting in my car getting angrier and angrier. Now I could start cursing out the person in front of me, or I could have some awareness and say, oh, my body is reacting now. I'm getting angry. All these chemicals immediately start flooding into your body, you guys. Cortisol, a stress hormone, and a lot of other things to get you ready to run, right? Adrenaline. So when the most important piece is noticing. So you're like, wow, I'm starting to move into that space of being in a negative place. But then you have your tools. Oh, I can turn the radio on and listen to a song. You could say to yourself, you know what, I'm running late. Okay, that's fine. But this is what it is. And, you know, when you're already running late, you have to take some responsibility also. So being realistic about what's happening and then taking an action. So you could even just do some breath work sitting in your car, right? You can, you know, call somebody and chat with someone and, you know, say to them, look, I'm feeling stressed. And I love just listening to music or a book on tape or a podcast if I'm in a stress situation. And then I flip it. So I'm saying to my brain, you know what? I'm not in danger. This is okay. I'm running a little late. This guy's driving slow, but that's okay. And then you turn it into a positive. Now I'm going to take that time when I would have normally been angry or fuming, even getting myself more and more worked up so that I arrive at work not in a good place. And what happens? Then you get to work and now you're complaining to everyone and you are not the person you want to be, right? And then your energy is low. So instead, you're flowing back time and you're doing something that works for you. And honestly, even when I'm taking a long car trip or I am sitting in traffic in the middle of the night, I'm like, all right, here's a great opportunity for me to listen to one of the books that I've been waiting to listen to, because none of us have time, but we need to find the time. Where can we claw it back? So basically the whole entire thing is noticing that you're getting into that state and then taking an action that will signal to your brain, everything is fine. So meditation signals that to your brain, listening to music does, breath work does it. So it's just this feedback loop, right? Your body is feeling a certain way and you're giving a message back to your brain, no, everything is fine. And you start to learn to rewire your brain, and it's powerful. And this is not just, like wellness, nonsense. This is actually backed up by science. This is what they're learning right now about the brain. The brain can rewire itself. We can learn to think more positive thoughts. When we're in a lower state or we're in a more depressive state, there are steps that we can take to move ourselves out of it. So that's basically the whole science behind it. Our brain is there to protect us, but a lot of times it's protecting us from things that really are not a danger to us. So we need to notice it, have the awareness, and then take an action to stop that action. All right. It's pretty amazing when you think about it, right? That our brain immediately starts pouring chemicals into our body as soon as it notices something is going on. By the same token, we can learn to pour the happier chemicals. How do you feel when music comes on? You feel happy. All of a sudden you're having a different reaction. So that's basically how it works.
Yeah, that's a great example of great example of something as simple as, because it's true. So a lot of times, as you were talking, I remember listening to Joel Osteen at one point in time, and he was saying that he was very late for a meeting, and the car in front of him didn't turn on the left turn, and he's sitting behind his car and getting so frustrated because he's looking at his watch and he's going to be late for a meeting, and he gets really stressed and the whole bit. And I just remembered that. But I mean, everybody can identify with, you're saying, come on, go. And then the light turns, and these lights now take forever to change back, and you're there. But we don't understand what's happening in our body, right? And you just brought that forward as consciousness. And consciousness is that as soon as you start to be stressed, your body, your brain starts having this stress hormone, which is cortisol. And it affects everything. If you've got too much cortisol, then you can't sleep at night. If you got too much cortisol, your body is in the fight or flight, you're not calm. And something as simple as, I'm going to be late, right? Because we know that we should not be late. There's certain people that are always late and they don't care. But if you care that you're late, you need to get to work or you need to be someplace. I remember when I was, had kids in the daycare, and you have to be there by 6 o'clock, and you have to be running, and it puts your body in high stress, and we don't really understand. So yes, awareness, which is why consciousness awareness is a big word in the self-improvement space, because yes, how many of us are able to be aware and be able to look outside our bodies and see, what? Yes, I am stressing over this thing. Turn it around. Byron Katie talks about the turnaround. You turn around the thought, hey, it's okay to be late. Maybe, I don't know what the turnaround is, but yes, listening to music, interrupt the pattern by thinking about something else. Either there's ways to bring in thoughts of somebody you love. And all these things are work. And people don't understand that, yes, if you just sit around and not do the work, then this is what's going to happen. If you're unconscious and you're unaware, then you're going to be feeling badly and you don't know why. Your body is going to have aches and pains and you don't know why, because you're not conscious. You're not living consciously. You're not living in awareness. So yes, whether you take a course from the people that are talking, have coach, everybody, whoever is in the wellness space or the self-improvement space has courses in something. Here, Kerry has her, her course on peak performance. But yes, one of the things that when you take these courses is that you are starting to become aware. And when you're starting to become aware, then you're doing the work to rewire the brain. And yes, I don't remember who wrote the book, but there's a book called Rewiring the Brain. I'm probably thinking this Dr. Joe Dispenza has a book like that. But yeah, rewiring the brain is something that we all need to do. Other than that, we're just going to be, taking things as they come and not doing anything with your life because you're just reacting. That's the word. You're just reacting to life circumstances. All right, so that's a good segue into talking about your coaching program and how do you help, your clients solve their problem. As far as, I'm not sure if your class is about peak performance or about a morning routine, or what kind of problems are you helping them solve?
So when I first start working with someone, I like to look at every area of their life. So we go through everything: their health, their social life, their love relationship, their parenting, if they're a parent, their career, finances, and really survey all of the areas of their life. And what I find is people are really excelling in one area, and then in a lot of the other areas, they haven't even looked at it, right? So then once we know that, we look at the whole thing and we say, okay, what area could we improve to start with that will actually help all of the areas of your life? So I personally believe that if health is something that's really not a priority for you, focusing in on your health could really be a game changer for everybody. And again, I start small, 5 minutes, go take a walk after lunch, just do some jumping jacks, get up in the morning and do a very quick 5-minute little exercise routine, stretch. Just start to bring more activity into your life and to start to really care about your health, to care about what you're eating. And it doesn't always have to be health, though. Every person kind of knows, once we go through all the categories, which area they really need to work on. Some people need to work on finances. So when you survey your whole entire life, all the categories of your life, your intellectual life, your emotional life, we all have certain areas that we're like, that's the one I need to work on. So I'm like very sensitive. I could be temperamental. I'm Italian. So emotional life is something that I've really been working on a lot throughout my whole life, but sometimes I'll just really focus on it. The last few months, I actually myself went through a very difficult time. I've been sort of, having a lot of life challenges, and I've fallen into more of a lower state than I normally am used to being in. And for me, I found that focusing on my health was key. So I joined a gym. I started getting moving. I started taking more walks. One of my kids is really into rock climbing. I started going to indoor rock climbing with him. And when you work on your physical body, I think it's the movement. I don't know exactly what it is, but it really does help change your state. And what I realized is, because I always used to say, oh, you can be the very best version of yourself. You can live your most extraordinary life, the life you dream of. I do believe that. But then there also are times that life happens, right? So a pandemic comes, or there's something going on in your family or with yourself or with your career. So we need to be ready for when those times come. And that's when these tools come in handy. So I basically teach all of my clients a bunch of tools. I always teach them meditation. I always teach them breath work. I teach them that they should stretch and strengthen. So that means doing something like yoga or qigong, and then something like weight training or something that's actually going to improve your muscles. And, I have all these little things that I teach them, the morning routine and the evening routine. So I would like all of my clients to have at least a 5-minute morning routine and a 5-minute evening routine without your cell phone, just something you're doing for yourself. And I always say to people, if you could make it longer than 5 minutes, 15 minutes morning, 15 minutes at night, or even longer, depending on your life circumstances, even better. Because I believe that when you begin and end your day in a very peaceful way, it almost doesn't matter what happens in the middle, right? Because what? In a few hours, I'll be in my room, I'll be doing my evening routine. So setting yourself up for success and having the tools to fall back on when you fall down. It's something I think in the wellness world, people don't talk about as much. They're like, you could just get to this state. Like at one point I thought, oh, I'll just be enlightened one day and I'll just be like Buddha and I will never get mad or sad or it's going to be so great. So I was really putting that pressure on myself, like for 30 years, quite frankly. And then I finally realized when the pandemic came, you know what, Kerry? You cannot control what goes on around you, but now I have the tools. So no matter what is going on in my life, I have something I can fall back on. Sometimes it's just, that 5 minutes in the morning. Sometimes I get to a point in my life that I'm so overwhelmed that all I can do is get up and do 5 minutes of something in the morning and then being okay with that, right? So really finding what your recipe is and just having a few tools in your tool chest that you can use when something goes on in your life.
It's funny. We started off talking about you being a yoga teacher, and we didn't spend any time talking about you teaching yoga. We seem to have gravitated to the peak performance and morning routine. So, are you still teaching yoga? Is it something that you teach your coaching clients? Is it part of the program, or are you still teaching yoga just for the stretches? Tell us about that.
I had stopped teaching yoga during the pandemic because originally I started teaching it online to my students. I did not like teaching it online. So then I segued at that point to teaching workshops online because I had always done breathwork workshops and all these different workshops on peak performance, in the yoga studios. I would do that as a weekend workshop. So I started teaching those online. I taught hundreds of workshops over the pandemic. And right now, currently, I'm not teaching yoga, although I started going to yoga again, indoors, which is so nice to be back in a yoga studio. And within like 3 days, I was like, I'm not going to tell anyone I'm a yoga teacher. I'm just going to be a student. That I have to say, I was like, I actually miss this. So I said, I would go on. I don't want to have a regular thing because I'm so busy, but I am on the sub list because I love teaching. I really do. It's my passion. It's something I really enjoy. It's definitely something that I teach my clients. I have little 5-minute yoga routines that I teach my clients because I don't think you need to commit to an hour or an hour and a half. That could be like blasphemy to a lot of yoga teachers. I think let's just start. If I could just get you 5 minutes. And I'll tell you, I have this little routine I taught my husband on his hands and knees for his spine. And he was having terrible back problems. So every day for 5 minutes, he would just do this simple routine and it completely healed his problem. So basically, I always advocate to everybody, move your spine in every direction every day. So forward and back, side to side, and then in a circle, either direction, because that's what's going to keep your spine limber, and that's what helps you stay youthful.
That is great. That is great. Yes, I had, I shouldn't say I had, I still have it, lower back pain. And did you know that 2 weeks in the gym and it's gone? And I was saying to my daughter that I'm not exactly sure what happened, except that when I go to the gym, I stretch after I work out. And I do, and I'm sure you know it, but is the sun salutation, those poses. And yes, that is, raising yes, that's basically putting your spine in all these different things. And my back pain is gone. It's absolutely amazing. Yes, the stretching, because, I knew that when I go to the park that I should stretch, but then, I'm putting my hands on the road and the ground, and I just didn't do it. And I thought when I come home, I'm going to do it, but I never remember. But at the gym religiously, every time I work out, I go over to my little corner and I do my stretches and the pain's gone.
You know what they say? Well, actually, I'm making this up right now, but 3 sun salutations a day keeps the doctor away.
Yes. I learned about the sun salutation a long time ago because it is in my memory and I can actually go through those poses without even thinking about it. I don't remember, but then of course I stopped doing it. And I was listening to Sadhguru very recently, and he talked about that. He talked about the sun salutation. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go back. I'm gonna do it. And it absolutely works. Absolutely.
And the reason it works, by the way, is because it's exactly what I said. It goes through all the motions. So you're moving all of your joints, in every direction. And I don't even think it would take 5 minutes to do 3 of them. And anyone can Google that. So just Google sun salutation, learn it, watch a video on it. And that could be the one thing you do in the morning or in the evening.
Yeah. Because that's basically all you need to do, right? I didn't even know it was 12 poses until Sadhguru talked about it. I just remembered it and I went into the flow. And like I said, I learned that, and I'm thinking it's from Deepak Chopra 15 years ago. But now I do it when I go to the gym, and so that's amazing. All right, well, yeah, so we learned about the morning routine, we learned about rewiring the brain, we learned about yoga, we learned about sun salutations, we learned about what happens when, your brain is into protection, which is very true. That's basically what it's there for. And one of the reasons that a lot of people, if you want to expand on that, one of the reasons a lot of people don't do much with their lives is because the brain is always saying, don't go there, that's dangerous, and try to keep them in the safe zone, right? So that's what the brain is for. So yes, Kerry said, yes, the brain is into protection, and something as simple as being stuck in traffic when you've got someplace to go, you wouldn't think that it's a saber-tooth tiger coming to kill you or eat you up, but your brain won't respond the same way. So we learned quite a lot of stuff in this episode. So I hope that you guys will take it to heart and remember it and, just be aware of it. So Kerry, tell our audience how they can connect with you, how they can get a hold of your courses and maybe your social media handles.
Oh, thank you. So you could find me at Kerry Fisher Yoga. KerryFisherCoaching.com. So KerryFisher coaching.com. And I am on Instagram. I am Kerry Fisher, and I handle my own Instagram. And I love getting messages from people. You could find my books on Amazon, Kerry Fisher. I have 2 books out. One is on that snooze button session. One is Tools for Extraordinary Living, my newest book. This is actually a pre-order copy. My second one is called Routines for Extraordinary Living. And in these 2 books, you will find so many tools and tips that will help you. I have them right now both on Amazon for 99 cents for the e-version. So I would love for you to check it out. And if you do check it out, and if you do try this snooze button session, please reach out to me on social media. I am Kerry Fisher on Instagram, and send me a message. I love to communicate with people and connect. Thanks so much, Myrna. You've been a delight.
Well, you're very welcome. Well, thank you, Kerry. Like I said, I'm so happy that that I was able to be myself and not be a little stick in the mud dud. You ever
are stick in the mud. That's a hard sell, Myrna. I don't know.
Wow, I was really worried about it. Yes, we had a great conversation. I even learned a few things, and it's very important that we continue our learning. And one of the reasons I love having great guests on the show is that I learn along with you, the listening audience, on certain things. And I don't have an evening routine other than I read a book so that I can get into the sleepy state. But yeah, maybe I might, do 5 minutes because it's not much. And set myself up for good sleep. So
wait, let me give you one quick tip. Morning routine, evening routine. It could be this simple, you guys. Wake up and write 10 things you're grateful for, any 10 things. And then before you go to sleep, write down the magic that you witnessed today. So anything magical that happened to you, then you're beginning and ending your day in a beautiful way. Plus, the added benefit is you start looking for these things. You start looking for the magic. You start looking for the things you're grateful for. Thanks, Martha.
I love that. I love that. Absolutely. I know about the gratitude one because I do. Lewis Hayes has an excellent gratitude meditation. And once in a while, I listen to her gratitude meditation. But yeah, I've never done the one with finding the magic. I know that I think it's even Deepak Chopra talks about at the end of the day, actually writing down what went right. But finding the magic is looking a little further than just went right. So that is great. Hey. Awesome interview, awesome talk. Kerry, like I said, we both started talking about, Robin Sharma, and you love this book and I love this book. So that was a great way to connect. And then we ended up with the sun salutation. So we went full circle. So that is awesome. All right, guys. Well, listen, I will have a transcript of my conversation with Kerry on the show page, which is blog.myhelps.us. And I didn't talk about her book much in this episode, but I will have her send me the links and I will add the links to the show page so you can definitely go and get that. And for 99 cents, you definitely can't go wrong. So I hope that you will support her and learn something and try to get in flow and peak performance. Because once you do, you'll find that everything is going to fall into place and then you're not going to have to work as hard. So thank you, Kerry, for a wonderful conversation, for a wonderful interview. So as we wrap up, I know you just gave some last words, but any last words?
Well, my last words are, all you need to do to change your life is to take that very first step. You know the quote, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step, and it is true. And my second thing is, you cannot change your life unless you take some kind of action. So just take an action. Yes. Start a morning routine, start an evening routine, write 10 things you're grateful for, do something, all right? And just go easy on yourself, enjoy the rest of the year, and I will see you soon.
All right, awesome. Love that, love that, love that. Yes, the journey of 1,000 steps starts with the first one. Or how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Same concept. All right, guys. Well, listen, thanks for tuning in to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio, podcast, and television show. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you're listening to this on iTunes, would love for you to rate and review so that we can reach a wider audience and, send this message to the world. If you're watching on YouTube, would love for you to subscribe. Until next time, namaste.